Well, here we are again, folks. Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. And this is February the 3rd. And February the 3rd, this is a devotion for February the 3rd. I am doing it out of a book written by a man by the name of Ford Philpott. And this is called Truth in the Morning. This is a morning study. If you will get up and you'll do this study in the morning, you'll find it to be very profitable through the day, because you can go through the day with a right perspective and see what man is supposed to do that is controlled by God. And was spiritual. Physical man was created by God. We went through that in just a little bit ago. Now, the spiritual man is also created by God. And said God breathed into his nostrils a breath of life. Remember, God formed man. He laid him down by the river Euphrates, and he laid there. How long did he lay there? I don't know how long he laid there. But he didn't have any life. And the Bible says he laid there, and God's conversing, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost are conversing. And as they're conversing, they say, this is our plan. We're going to make this man a body. We're going to make him a soul, which is a thing that lives forever. And we're going to make him a spirit. And the spirit we're going to give him a spirit of life in his body. When we put that spirit in his body, he's going to become a living soul. And that soul will live forever somewhere. We're going to leave the choice of where that soul lives up to the man. We're going to give him a choice to choose God or mammon. And that man was given that choice. And when he was faced with that choice in the Garden of Eden and tempted of the devil through his wife, he failed and partook of an evil fruit and caused his soul to be in danger of separation from God for eternity. Now, this separation from God is called eternal death. If you're separated from God eternally, you're in an eternal death. Picture this. You're in a never-ending hole. What could that be like? We've seen with our eyes a never-ending hole. A complete hollow circle. You take a piece of PVC pipe and pull it around a 16-foot piece and pull it around and tape it together. You put a marble in there before you tape it together. And that marble is in a never-ending hole. It will go around and around and around and around. As long as you tipping that up and down, that marble's going to go around. A never-ending hole, completely, continually falling. That marble's falling. As long as you're doing this, that marble's falling. And it's falling forever. It'll fall as long as that it is there. That's like falling in a never-ending hole. Now, we have black holes in the sky, and I've done a great study on that. If you look that up, the black holes, you will be amazed at black holes. And of course, nobody's ever discovered one of them because it's a continued falling. It never stops. Anything goes into that black hole, never returns. It never comes back. I'm believing that's a picture that God has for us of things going away, eternally going away from this earth and other earths that are in the sky and going into this forever falling hole that God has. Now, the spiritual part of man is the soul of man, is the part which is missing when death claims the physical man. Now, when death claims this body, there's going to be a living soul come out of this body. It's either going to go live with God forever, or it's going to go live with Satan, the devil, forever. Are you a witness for Christ? Are you telling people about the soul that they have that can go to hell? Are you interested? Are you geared up? Are you geared up? Do you know a car salesman, what he does? He carries a whole bunch of cards in his pocket. And I meet him and he takes one out and he said, hey, if you ever need a car, come to me. Well, I carry these in my pocket. And I say, if you ever need to know something about God, come to me. If you want to know how to go to heaven, read this. It says, if I died right now, will I go to heaven? You will if you ask Jesus to forgive you of your sin. Come in here and save your soul. So instead of your soul going to an eternal falling, an eternal fire, an eternal hell, you can go to an eternal heaven and live forever with God if you ask Him to save you. Now, I'm studying in these morning devotions here by a man named Ford Philpott. And I'm going to do 48 excerpts, and they're going to be things that he put together out of the Word of God. And I'm asking the Lord to put these things on His account. I don't want them on my account. They're not things I put together. I've got things I put together, hundreds of them. But these are somebody else's. And I'm not going to claim the notoriety from them for myself. I'm going to claim them for Him. And I want God to put everything that's said and done in these. This is His work. He spent some time. It took me 3 days to go through 48 pages and study and read what he put down. It took 3 days to cipher it out, to break it down, and I mark everything. I mark things like this, and I study each one of those colors. I studied that. And I study what I'm doing. I don't just read it, I study it. Soul of man. What a place to start. Where do I find that? I find that in Genesis 2:7. That as God breathed into this body that He had made down there by the river Euphrates and laying there, He bent down from heaven and He breathed the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Doesn't say that about the animals. Doesn't say that about other things. It said man got his breath from God and became a living soul. What does a soul do? A soul lives forever. It's a godly thing. It's the part of the human being that it was a godly thing. How did it get tainted? The devil came along and tainted it. And so that's how it got tainted. The soul of man is that part which is missing when death claims the physical man. When we stand beside the remains of a friend, a loved one who has died, we can see and touch their bodies, but the part of them which we have loved and known is gone. The most vital part of man, his soul. The person he is departs at death, disclosing the fact that the body and the soul are separate. Look at Matthew 10:28. A person's body may be seriously damaged. He may lose his arm or leg or his eye. But this won't alter his soul. He will still possess the same personality, the same concepts of right and wrong, the same ideas and opinions, the same intellect or intelligence, quoted, just as human body proves the origin of the physical man. And the spirit existing within the living mortal proves that at the appointed time the soul of man began to live within the body of man. The soul of man began to live in the body of man. and that soul is an eternal being. Hey, we don't often hear the scientific explanation of this phenomenon because man can't identify or isolate the soul. He tends to emphasize physical life and ignore the spirit of the man and the part of him that is life. The part of you that's life is the soul. The spirit that God put in you, and the spirit of life, He put that soul in you. And because of that, He did. So we don't often hear a scientific explanation of this phenomenon. The breath of life, or the soul, came from God. Not one of us can set the hour when our soul entered our body. And we shall not propose the hour of its departure. A higher power determines the eternally sojourn of a soul. The most completed mathematical formula, the most thorough chemical experiment, the most deepest excavation into the earth's crust will never explain the miracle of life. Our tiny minds cannot comprehend the mind of God. Therefore, we must simply know that we live because God breathed into our bodies a breath of life. Our prayer this day would be, Dear Father, my own existence is a mystery to me. Teach me who I am. Teach me what I am. And most of all, teach me why I am. That the enemy's propaganda might not violate your purpose in creating me. Amen. The thought for the day is the mystery of life is granted and controlled by the supreme power who designed you and I, the physical human being. Wow. If we can maintain that thought through life. Now I have a commission. Do you have a commission? What is your commission? My commission is to evangelize one-on-one every human being I can. At periods of time, I can stand before a crowd and evangelize. But basically, my evangelizing is right here on the YouTube, is out there walking down the street, is on Sunday morning or Sunday going to a church house, breaking ice. How do you break ice? This is called a fireball. I can do a lot of relating through this fireball. I carry these in my pocket. And if I'm talking to a man about hell, I can say, well, just feel the heat from that fireball in your mouth. And imagine the whole body being in that. And not only for just a minute or two, but forever. The soul and the body of man are going to connect at the end of the earth. And those that are in hell are going to be there forever, and they're going to burn forever, and they're going to have all the desires a body has. As well as being in literal fire, they're going to have the desire that the body has. Another lasting thing the Lord has given me and showed me over the years is that in my Sunday school class, children's church and things that I've had, the Lord brought into my mind using a pack of Doublemint gum. And in my Sunday school classes through the years, God has had me give everybody a pack of double mint gum every day. Every Sunday. Knowing this, that a seed sowed is a seed that will multiply one day. Some of the seeds in the Bible it talked about fell by the wayside, but they sprouted up. This is a wayside seed. It's for the time being. It's for the time at hand, and it's for the time being, and it's for the future. The boys I've had for 2 to 3 years come through that class and got a pack of this double mint every Sunday. When they get older, and perhaps may even get away from the Lord, when they see a pack of double mint gum, they're going to think about Sunday school. They're going to think about that foolish old man that carried gum everywhere he went and gave packs of gum away. And they're going to think about it. It's a very minor thing to go to a wholesale house and buy 30, 40 packs and give them away. It's very inexpensive. It costs you $12, $15 a week. And then there's other things you can carry, many things. Carry some of these. What is that? That's a little cough drop. So you're standing by somebody and they're going, say, here's something for your throat. And give you the opportunity to take something for their soul out and hand them a tract. And then you can do other things. I don't know in this jacket right here what I've got, but I usually have, I've got another type of tract in here. This card is kind of a little thing about our church and about the things we do every year and what's going on for the year. Do you go out prepared? Are you a salesman? Are you a preacher of the word? And you go out? And I gave my other last New Testament out of this jacket out yesterday. I carry little New Testaments in here. You can buy them at the Dollar Tree for $1. They're the whole New Testament for $1. And handed them out. I went through a little restaurant yesterday, one I hadn't been in years and years and years, and God had me go through there for one reason only. I gave the lady a tract and a little New Testament. She said, man, she said, I have wanted one of these for years to carry in my pocketbook. And it's amazing, we live in the same world, we travel in the same stores, but we don't see the same things. She'd been looking for them, but she didn't see them. They come from the Dollar Tree. And what I do is my secretary at our church, we just call them up and say, deliver us 3 or 4 cases, 5 cases of those at the Dollar Tree in the town where we live, and then I go pick them up. And I pass them out, deliver them to people, and give them to them while I'm talking to them, and hand them one to carry in their back pocket. I carried a Bible in my back pocket so long that I gave myself a sciatica problem, not thinking about it when I was carrying it younger, driving a bus and driving a car and sitting all the time and carrying that in my pocket. It gave me a real sciatica problem. So we had to be careful where you carry it. So anyway, here we are back in a study by a man by the name of Ford Philpott, who traveled around this country. And back in the day when I lived in LaGrange, Georgia, he used to come there to a stadium. Matter of fact, he had people in LaGrange, Georgia that worked with him in his ministry. And I did not know him at that time. And it's only been recently I found his writings, and I love his writings. He's one of God's men. And he doesn't stray away from the King James Version. He doesn't stray away from what the Bible said and what is for us every day. Well, that's enough conversation in this particular excerpt. This is a morning excerpt. Think about it when you get home today. Start preparing yourself for going out and being a ministry tool. A walking ministry. A walking tool. Do you on your way in the morning stop somewhere and get a cup of coffee? Think about it. There's a lot of things you can think about this way. If you do stop and get a cup of coffee, do you leave a gospel tract? Do you leave a good witness? Do you leave any kind of witness? Or do you flirt with a lady that sells you the coffee? What do you do as a lasting thing in your life in the morning when you're going to work? If you think about it, if you're buying that coffee with plastic, you're causing yourself to have great grief later on in life. You're going to come to a day when that plastic will eat you alive, if it's not already done it. I've counseled with people that have multiple cards, and they say, all of a sudden I find myself, I can't pay all the cards. I have to take one card and pay another one. They allow you to do that because they know they're going to get their money from that card, but knowing that you're already so deep in the hole that you're having to use one card to cover another card, and it's a fire that will consume you eventually. You must get out of that by changing your habits, changing your way of life. Find God, find a spiritual life, find a way to pray, Lord, help me to get through this with no more credit. So I couldn't get to work if I didn't have credit. No, because you've got yourself in such a spot. So what you need to do now is be sure and don't stop and get no cup of coffee. It would kill me to pay $1 for a cup of coffee. And to drive into one of them places where you pay $3, I just dropped dead on the thinking about it. When I go right over here, my little coffee pot, and I can put 5 cups in there for 20 cents. So we're living unrealistically today. We're causing our spiritual lives to fail by the way we live our physical lives. I gotta go. My time's come and gone. We'll see you next time. This is Brother Peter with tidbits from the Word. Bye-bye.